So recently we did a podcast with the wonderful Charlie Ashby, talking many things, but we talked about cultural safety and the need to see cultural safety as an absolute priority. And just looking at the recent figures, that 47% of the health gap now, in the closing the gap targets, 47% of that health gap, including life expectancy rates for Aboriginal people, is related to institutional racism, to interpersonal racism, and to intergenerational trauma. And that means that cultural safety, that Aboriginal people, or lack of cultural safety, means that Aboriginal people actually live 8 years less than non-Aboriginal people.
Yeah, it's not optional, really, is it? When you look at it like that, we should all be striving to be culturally safe.
We absolutely should. I'm Nicky Sloan. I'm CEO of Community Industry Group, and I'm here today on the beautiful lands of the Dharawal people to bring you Community Matters, the podcast that explores issues that are important in the community with people who are making a difference. I'm here today with Becky Garrett. Becky is the Head of Operations for the Supported Accommodation and Homelessness Service of Shoalhaven Illawarra, known as SAHSSI.
Fortunately.
And Becky was also the recent winner of an Innovation Award at our recent Community Services Awards. So welcome, Becky.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
So Becky, well, first of all, I detect a hint of an accent. So why are you, who are clearly not actually from Australia, so interested in cultural safety?
Well, you detect my accent well, because it's still pretty broad, I think. I think it always will be. Look, I've always worked in this industry. So SAHSSI we're a supported accommodation service, like you say. We're working with women and children who are fleeing violence, people that are affected by homelessness. And so that's always been the industry I've been in. And because those people are often the most disadvantaged people that we work with, I've got a particular interest in anybody who is at a greater disadvantage because of a whole host of reasons. So when I was in the UK, it tended to be my interest lay more with the Pakistani and the Indian community in the town where I lived. I ran refuges there, so that was always a community that I wanted to make sure got the best service that we could possibly give them. And when I came to Australia, I didn't really know very much about the Aboriginal community. I certainly hadn't been taught that kind of colonial stance that Australians get taught in schools. So there wasn't as much, don't feel I was carrying as much baggage around what Aboriginal people are stereotyped as. And so I was lucky in that the first people that I kind of met and hung out with identified as Aboriginal. Some people did. And so I got like the generosity of those people pretty quickly, sort of brought me on board as seeing where the disparities were and where the gaps were and really how colonialism has affected that community so dramatically. And yeah, that's really that's what kind of got me really interested in that community particularly, although I'm by no means an expert at all. I'm a non-Indigenous person in a country that I was not born into. So I haven't, I'm not by any means saying that I've got answers because I haven't. But I feel like I've been able to come from a slightly different position of not having to unlearn as much and been very lucky to being able to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, so you don't have that baggage of white fragility that many of us who've grown up in Australia
I
actually
definitely have some baggage of white fragility. I think anybody who I think we all have that, and it's been an uncomfortable journey for me over years to recognise my own, and so but not as. Look, I very much see that that my community, my people, my ancestors were the problem, and I've come to terms with that. And all I can do now is I can't undo what was done, but I hopefully can help to change the picture through on a local level, and the organisation that I work with, I can make sure that I can, with my team, because I certainly cannot do it alone, that we all kind of move together to just change a little bit of whatever is in our control at the moment.
So the Innovation Award that you won was for a program that was around improving cultural safety. So what does cultural safety mean to you, and what does it look like?
Look, cultural safety is about, for me and for SAHSSI, is about hearing what needs to be heard. It's about us listening. It's about people having a voice. It's about them having some agency over what they're doing and autonomy to make decisions. It's about our policies and procedures, making sure that they are not they're not racist. It's not until you start examining things that have always seemed quite all right that you really and sitting down with the people that understand that more. And people being able to come to work and feel that their voices will be heard, that they've got some say in what they do, how they do it. They have that their employers and that their senior leadership team and their colleagues understand what, if they've got sorry business, what that means, that they're not having to explain, they're not having to be questioned around things that are just very important culturally. And that our clients, which is, I was going to say more importantly, but it's not. It's as important, because if your staff don't feel safe, then neither will the clients. That the clients are, that we have that understanding so that when they come in, our policies will not be discriminatory against them. They will take into account what their culture means and the nuances that at the moment one size fits all, or it has been one size fits all, where everybody gets an equal treatment. But actually, to be culturally safe, and we're just talking about culture, lots of different groups that we work with, but it's not about equality. It's about that recognition that we are all different. We all bring some richness to this organisation, and that the organisation understands what that is and supports that. Now, that's a long way around saying what, I could probably have said in a few sentences, and then I'll think of lots of other things. It's cultural safety is just huge, but it's something that everybody can achieve. I believe everybody can achieve if they start the process.
My daughter is non-Aboriginal and is a paediatric nurse in an Aboriginal child and family service. And I know that she has felt completely welcomed and safe in an organisation that comes from an Aboriginal perspective. So by embracing cultural safety, we could make our organisations feel safer and more welcoming for everybody. Is
Absolutely.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. And because it does work both ways, although I do think it's our responsibility to make sure that the groundwork is there. I've seen we've got a great Aboriginal team now. It's a new team, but and we started off a couple of years ago with a cultural lead, and she really started paving the way for this. So although I was really the lucky recipient of this award, it felt like a little bit of a con, really, because it was definitely not. The innovation was a group of people, and the commitment from a whole organisation, and she really kind of, with her sharing of knowledge with the team, and speaking to elders and connecting us to different organisations, particularly Aboriginal controlled organisations, she really made it safe for other people from other cultures and other sexualities, or what, you know, that we all kind of changed the face of what we're doing at SAHSSI for everybody, because I believe that if you can get it right for the Aboriginal community, then everything else will fall into place, because it's just such a great culture. The way that community look out for each other is, if you can follow that and you can embed that into your organisation, you're going to get it right for everybody.
I loved that you won an innovation award for this, and often people equate innovation with technology, and this is innovation in a completely different way of thinking about it. You've done it at SAHSSI. What would you like to see other organisations do, and what commitment does it need from an organisation to bring innovation in cultural safety in a genuine way, and, you know, not just having a wrap and putting it on a shelf?
Yeah. Look, first of all, we haven't done it. We're doing it. We're trying. We're at the beginning of a long journey. It's not something that can be done overnight. It's not even something that can be done in 3 years' time. This will go on forever. While ever SAHSSI is an organisation, we will be working towards cultural safety, making sure all our staff are trained, that we're doing decolonisation training, we're doing cultural immersion training, you know, all of the things that, you know, we're always reviewing our policies and procedures, and lots of other work that we're doing. I think that the way that we started it was we did our own cultural audit. So we had a RAP. We had a RAP for a while. The RAP felt like it wasn't really driving us forward as a RAP should. It was something that we put on our website and didn't get visited as often as it needed to. We had a RAP group, but that it was kind of hard to get people to meet. So we said, look, we're all really busy. Let's actually make this one of our major projects. So we started by doing a cultural audit. So we did an audit with the senior leadership team, the cultural lead at the time. We invited other people in to review that with us as well. And you've got to identify what you're not doing to be able to start improving your services for people. And so we actually, through that audit, we came up as our standards were minimal. We were just doing the work that we're funded to do, and you know, we're not an Aboriginal controlled organisation, and so we kind of thought, oh well, that's their thing to do, and we're going to stay in our lane. But you know, we realised, no, this is our lane. These are our clients. This is, you know, we have to get this right. So once we'd managed to do that audit, once we'd done that audit, we could then form a cultural safety plan. So from that audit, it went into a plan that we've got dates, we've got times, we've got people that are responsible, and we bring the whole organisation along that with us. So it's really, you can't just do it. It can't just be the senior leadership team. It can't be your Aboriginal team. It's got to be everybody in that organisation. It can't just be a RAP team. So we now work to this cultural safety plan. And through that, we've developed a framework of how we work with our clients, how we work with our our Aboriginal staff, and how we work with our cultural leads, and you know, how we work in a trauma-informed way, a culturally informed way, a domestic violence-informed way. So we do all of this through our cultural safety plan framework, and we've developed another few frameworks as well that come out through that. And that framework, although I've done the bones of that, has been it's kind of been created by with the Aboriginal staff. And the other thing is that, like, we need to, as an organisation, you need to be prepared to put in that work, and you need to be prepared to do the admin around it. Mm-hmm. So by kind of creating this team, so we didn't actually have anybody who sat in Aboriginal identified positions until 24, 25. It's a very recent that we've actually created these positions. They're case managers. They work with, they do the same job as everybody else, but we pay a loading because they bring additional knowledge, and we appreciate that when they finish, their job doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. They're still working for SAHSSI when they're out in the community on an evening, or when Auntie's ringing them at 11 o'clock at night. So we appreciate that, and they've formed a group. It's called the Mige group, which means sisters in the Darawal language, and so giving them that kind of giving them the opportunity to meet together, to get cultural support from each other, to be able to be there for their clients. So they don't just work with an Aboriginal client group, they work with everybody, but they're there on hand to support their colleagues, and they're really upskilling other people, particularly our cultural leads. They've then kind of shaped what we need to do so we had one cultural lead across Darawal and Yuin speaking country, and now we've got two. We've got one in Darawal, one in Yuin, and that's we're learning all the time because we've got the right people on board. To start it off, really, I think just talking to Aboriginal controlled organisations about what we do, how we can serve their clients, and that's important. So, it's like, what I learn as a privileged white woman is that I don't have all the answers, even though sometimes I think I do, and that I think I've got something spot on, and this is a great idea, and then I'll go to my team and they'll say, no, not really. That's not really how that works. So it's just kind of being able to put everything to the side. I report to our Mige group. They talk amongst each other. They come up with suggestions. I take it from them to the executive, and then I go back and I report and I say, this is what we're going to do about that, or this is something we can't manage at the moment, but would this fit instead? So that's how I think, just having that kind of that willingness to put away your hierarchy, put away your, this kind of the colonial track that we're all working on through our organisations, put that to one side, scrape it all back and say, let's really find out what's needed, and then let's make it happen.
Becky, you talked about cultural immersion training and decolonisation training. Perhaps you could explain for people who haven't gone through those trainings what that involves.
Yeah, that's different to cultural awareness training, which I think a lot of our community groups will have done some cultural awareness training, if not decolonisation training. That's rather than just kind of getting having a very pleasant sit down and talk about somebody's culture. It's more about sitting in that uncomfortable space and talking about how colonisation has affected our local. And that's important, our local Aboriginal communities, what it means for us as non-Indigenous people and our white fragility that we mentioned before. We always make sure that when we do this training, we do it on the country where we work. So our Shoalhaven team, they do some decolonisation training with Wominda's organisation, who are a fantastic leader, and we go out on country a little bit. We talk about, we sit in that uncomfortable space. They do some real harsh truth telling, but it's done with support. In the Illawarra, we use the ISE. We have some cultural immersion training, which is very similar. For me, I've been really lucky because I've got to sit in that discomfort twice at two different trainings. Our executive do both because we cover both countries, and it's I think unless you really can strip back and sit and listen to some hard truths and learn about truth listening, and put your fragility to one side, that's the start of your journey. That's to really understand what the impact of colonisation is. You have to sit in that and you have to listen really carefully.
And the thing that came out of it for me with both decolonisation training and cultural immersion training, and like you, I've done it both with Waminda and with IAC, was also the importance of being a good cultural ally, that we can actually play a role as allies.
Absolutely. And that's being an ally is that's when we go down to your local Aboriginal controlled organisation, go down to Waminda, go down to Black Seed and have something to eat, support Aboriginal business. Just ask somebody. Ask somebody about what country are you from? Where are you? You tell me about home for you. All of these things just strengthen our relationships. The Aboriginal communities will share and share. They're the most generous people if they know that you are genuinely interested, which is, that kindness really is incredible given what they've faced from non-Indigenous people and continue to face. So yeah, that being an ally is, and that's another thing we have to continue working at. You never get to be a perfect ally. I know that Waminda have an imperfect ally program, and I've got myself a sweatshirt with him, and I really understand that. It's like we never get there. We've always got to keep moving forward and learning more and listening more, and yeah.
Have you faced any hurdles, any roadblocks?
It's still early days, so we haven't faced too many roadblocks. I think the cultural leads have. They're just great. We've got, Katrina down in the Shoalhaven on Ewan country and Shanine up in Darawal. They're fantastic. They are. So it's slightly different. Our leads are different to what Charlie Ashby does. He's working in an Aboriginal controlled organisation. He's working with the young people and the older people. It's a different type of lead. The hurdles for these guys are that they're keeping community close. They're also upskilling their non-Indigenous colleagues, so they're doing some case management on the side. They're talking to the executive. They're getting sort of pushback sometimes, and so they've got all of these hats that they wear, and then they're going into community, and community want them to be cultural lead for SAHSSI at that point as well. So I think if there's anything that I'm looking at tweaking soon with that team, it's like, is this role too big? What do we need to do to make sure that you are not overburdened with the work, understanding that some things will not change, like the things that you're doing in community. So I wouldn't say that they're roadblocks, but it's these constant learnings, you've got to be able to sort of pivot and work out what's working and what's not working.
Very good. Very good. Now, this podcast is called Community Matters. Could you tell us about a person or people in the community that matter to you?
Look, I kind of wish I didn't know that this question was coming, because I immediately thought of somebody, and then you've got time to think about hundreds of other people. And look, the community in the Shoalhaven and the Illawarra are amazing. And coming from England, where we do not have the same types of community, it's a very different culture that we've got over there. So I'm always blown away by the community. Of course, the women that I work with, all the women I work with, particularly the women that fleeing violence, just stun me all the time with what they've coped with and their resilience. But I do want to shout out one person, and it's very appropriate for this podcast. Evie Rankmore, she was our first cultural lead. She is a good friend of mine now. If it hadn't have been for Evie and her patience and her generosity and her sharing knowledge with me and her allowing me to say the most ridiculous things and not kind of berate me for that or be upset, but just guide me in the right direction. And she worked with us at SAHSSI. She was our first cultural lead. If it wasn't for Evie, I don't know where I'd be, and I don't know where our community would be. She's a trained counsellor now. She sees the gap for her community, and she goes out and she works hard. She's a single mum. She works for Our Watch now around Aboriginal women and domestic violence, and so she's a really, really special person in our community. And I hope that as the years go by, she'll be recognised as one of our community leaders.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Well, big shout out to Evie.
Very big shout out to Evie.
Well, thank you so much, Becky. That has just been a joy to talk through what you're doing and your passion for cultural safety. And I think what comes out of it for me is that it's something that it's possible for all organisations to embrace. So.
It is. It doesn't cost very much. It's just a bit of time, listening, humility, and you can get there.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicky.
And thank you for tuning in to Community Matters, the podcast that explores issues that are important in our communities with people who are making a difference. Please like us, leave us a review, and share our podcasts, and tune in next time for more Community Matters.